Good afternoon and welcome to the Business Weekly webinar. We welcome today Mayor Willie Rosas of the City of Dunkirk and Mayor Sundquist of the City of Jamestown. We appreciate them taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us here today. Before we jump into some questions and some discussion, some housekeeping for our guests today. We are using a webinar system. Therefore, you do not have the option to turn on your camera or your audio for today's presentation, but you will be able to see the panelists. For best viewing experience, go to the top of your screen and select View Everyone. Also, in the lower right-hand corner of each panelist box, you can control the size of the box. We will accept writing questions today. To ask a question, go to the menu on the right-hand side of your screen where you'll see the question menu. Click on questions. You can write in your question right there, and we'll do our best to get to all your questions. If we don't have an answer or we do not get your question, we'll work with our guests today to get your questions answered. We're fortunate to have sponsorship of this webinar series. So I'd like to plug our sponsors here real quickly. Today's broadcast is sponsored in part by Digitel Inc., a leader in live streaming and virtual meeting production. Located in Jamestown, New York, Digitel serves over 150 of the world's leading organizations and associations across the globe. If you're looking to work for one of the most exciting companies in Western New York, Digitel is always looking for the best and brightest in Chautauqua County. So send your resume to workfordigitelinc.com. Also, today's program is brought to us by Foricon, who's a local professional consulting forestry firm that has been serving the needs of Western New York and Northwestern Pennsylvania since 1954. From small woodlots to expansive forest land investments, Foricon foresters can help landowners accomplish their forestry needs. For timber sales, management plans, appraisals, or selling vacant real estate, Foricon is your one-stop consulting firm. So call 716-664-5602 or visit them online at foriconinc.com. And finally, the law office of Sheila Starkey Hahn urge you to support small local businesses. Many local restaurants quickly turn to takeout service only after the initial pause period, ramping up their business models to provide good service in new ways. And now, of course, many of them are open for in-house dining and sit-down dining. You can find that list at chqbuylocal.com. The energy and creativity of our local business community has been exemplary during New York on pause, and we salute them. So let's move on to our program. Again, welcoming Mayor Willie Rosas, City of Dunkirk, Mayor Sundquist, City of Jamestown. Eddie gets a little bit of a pass today. He's got an important meeting in about a half hour. So we'll try to get to as many questions as we can on his tight time schedule. So, gentlemen, let's start out with some good news. You both have been very proactive in working with the business community. What promising private sector driven or private public sector projects are coming to fruition or are in the pipeline? And we'll kick off with Mayor Rosas.
Well, thank you, Todd. First, let me thank you for inviting me to come on the webinar. There's a lot of exciting projects that we're working on, public sector and private sector. We have been working with Philbrook Foods right along, and ever since Wells Incorporated came in and took them over, there's been an announcement that they are going to be doing a major expansion, which includes them investing close to $100 million of their own funds on this project. This project will bring in 75 to 100 jobs, and these are new jobs, each job coming with a starting salary of $40,000 to $50,000 with a full benefit package. So these are some of the things that we've been working on. We've helped them and worked with the county IDA. We've also been working very closely with the state representatives to ensure that we give them all the incentives to feel good about that expansion coming here. Their Blue Bunny product is one of the biggest selling products for ice cream in the world. They're global and they want to be #1. So we're very proud to have them here on board. That's a major project that we continue to work on. Just recently, the governor awarded us a grant of over $500,000 to clean up one of the brownfield properties, which sits adjacent to the property where Fieldbrook Foods sits now. And originally, that was a property that the Wells family were interested in purchasing for their expansion. When they learned that there was a cleanup involved, they shied away from it. So we proposed to the state funding to clean it up ourselves, to have it shovel ready. And we're just pleased to make that announcement. Now we have those funds, so we'll be moving forward to clean it up. And I believe now that it's cleaned, that the Wells Company will probably be interested in purchasing it. So we'll be negotiating with them on that as well.
Excellent. Very good. Some good news coming out of Dunkirk.
Yes.
Mayor Sundquist.
Yeah, so I wish we had as exciting news as my colleague in Dunkirk. Unfortunately, I've been on the job 6 months, and 4 months of those have been dealing with COVID. But we, there's a lot of great things that were going on in the city right before COVID, and we are trying very hard to continue those things. A lot of investment in downtown buildings in the city of Jamestown, including the renovation of some buildings that have been sitting idle for a very long time. Many of your viewers or webinar participants may remember the arcade building. We've been working diligently with some firms to rehab the building to ensure that we actually change that whole First Street corridor and trying to have better designs for different housing options here in the city of Jamestown. We've also been working with foundations and other developers on buildings across the downtown core and across the city. And we're slowly starting to work with marketing certain properties so that we can attract more development in the city of Jamestown. Part of that is a much larger marketing initiative here in the city, along with a lot of our different partners and friends across the city. And we're working on a huge initiative to not only incorporate travel and tourism, but to encourage people to invest and be a part of the city of Jamestown, especially with so many opportunities for low-cost utilities. We have a lot of space that we can easily redevelop and an opportunity to fix up properties. So we've been working in that regard, and as much as I would love to say Mayor Rosas is able to get a ton of incredible manufacturing things, we're working on those here in the city of Jamestown. I hope to be as successful as Mayor Rosas going forward.
Very good. Digital, one of our advertisers here, is doing very well in the downtown core. I understand from a brief conversation Friday with Jim Parker that they're looking for about 100 people right now. So yeah, it's some, just some good stuff that that's happening in Jamestown and in Dunkirk. Both of you did a really good job of sort of pivoting resources during this challenging time for our economy and our small businesses through your departments of development and leveraging community development block grant funds and doing a variety of things just to help support businesses through this. Mayor Sundquist, you want to comment on some of that good work?
Sure. So the city of Jamestown had received a lot of funding from the community block grant program, as well as some for Mayor Rosas as well. We have 2 programs that we're getting ready to roll out this week. The first one is to support small businesses across the city of Jamestown during COVID. And so whether that is to retool your business to deal with the new precautions under COVID-19, or whether that's to try to make your commercial lease payment, or even just to support some of the work that you've been doing. We've even extended it to helping small businesses that have childcare needs, especially if you're a sole proprietor. We're inviting all of those businesses to apply for funding. We have a pot of about $300,000 to be able to provide businesses up to, I believe it's at around $20,000 is the most you can apply for. We just received our funding from HUD, so we are ready to roll that out. It's for individuals to submit applications. We also have another pot of $300,000, which we are reserving for rental assistance during this time. One of the biggest needs in the city of Jamestown is ensuring we have affordable and quality housing for individuals. And we recognize how difficult it would be for tenants to not only pay their rent, but for landlords to make sure they pay their mortgage during this time. So we've created a program that we will pay a landlord up to a certain amount of rent for 3 to 4 months during the COVID period in exchange for the landlord to ensure that the property will be inspected and up to code. So we're trying to find a way to help not only our low to moderate income individuals, but also try to get some of our landlords the needed funds to keep going during this time.
Very good. Mayor Rosas.
Yeah, so we received almost $300,000 from the same funding source, and we chose to use the brunt of it to help our businesses, our smaller businesses, but we did use some of it for the nonprofits. Some of the issues that were brought up, as Mayor Sundquist has stated earlier, was the rental assistance. Some of the landlords were complaining that they obviously were not getting their rent. And so we used some of those funds for that, but the brunt of the funds were used to help our business community. And we are also looking at distributing those funds hopefully this week. It was exciting to be able to get out there and actually provide grant funding and not loans to some of the businesses that really needed it. They were impacted majorly. Some of them were on the brink of not reopening. So it was hard to see that happening, but again, it was a really good feeling now to be able to tell them that they are going to be awarded some funds. And some of the smaller businesses we have in the city of Dunkirk, some of the smaller restaurants that were just opening up just this year, just prior to when COVID hit. And they really were looking at probably not coming back. So these funds helped them to stay open. So these funds were very helpful to our business community in the city of Dunkirk.
Very good. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about shared services. Do you see opportunities between your two cities, or cities working with your surrounding neighbors for opportunities to share services? Obviously, with some of the financial implications that are coming down, the cuts in state aid, and just some of the overall financial implications of this pandemic, there's going to be some challenges on all of our municipalities. So I'm just curious, we're curious what kind of conversations or what types of opportunities do you see? Mayor Rosas, we'll kick this one over to you first.
Well, let me say I have a pretty good relationship with Mayor Sundquist. We have discussed some opportunities to share services. One of the areas that we looked at was our human resource director position is currently vacant. Also, our city attorney position, there are times when we need help in that department when we are very busy. So these are two areas that we've already discussed. But I think that there's a lot of different ways that we can be creative and share resources to the taxpayers' benefit. And not only with the two cities in the county, but sharing more services with the county and other municipalities. When I first came into office, I thought it was a great idea for the city of Dunkirk and the village of Fredonia to consolidate our police departments. I thought it would save taxpayers in both communities a lot of money, and we would have a top of the line police force. And I still think that that is a great idea. I'm always going to be open to that happening because my background has been in police work, and I believe that this is what's going to be best for our community and save the taxpayers money.
Very good. Mayor Sundquist.
I would echo Mayor Rosas. We have a great relationship. We talk pretty frequently. And if Mayor Rosas needs anything, or if anything, we've had a great relationship to be able to just reach out and ask. I think what was pointed out more importantly is that, especially when we are looking at a very, very difficult potential deficit with COVID as cities, towns, and villages, it doesn't always make sense that we all have our own dump trucks, we all have our own police force, we all have our own firefighters, right? So the city of Jamestown is very much open to starting to share services with our multiple surrounding towns and villages around the one area. We could not only talk about sharing services with Dunkirk, but even the towns and villages that border our city is a unique opportunity, especially since we are all going to be experiencing a budget crunch going forward just this year alone, and most likely into next year. So now is the time to kind of put some of that view that this is my town, my area, my tools, and say let's just work together to try to get some stuff done, to save the taxpayers some money, and make the quality of work even better.
Well, we like what we're hearing and seeing from both of you on that front, because we've long believed there's opportunity for greater efficiencies and reducing costs and maintaining quality services. So thank you for your leadership and the direction you're taking your respective communities when it comes to that topic. Related to that, and Mayor Sundquist, you were starting to touch upon it a little bit. The state budget, it was a challenging year and going to continue to be challenging going forward for the state. There's going to be cuts to municipalities in terms of cuts in the state budget. Are you getting a sense of what the aggregate implication of that is going to be for the city of Jamestown? I also know probably in the formula too is lost sales tax revenue. What are the financial challenges you're looking at?
So first off, I want to be very clear. It's hard for us to forecast how much state aid we may receive. That is a significantly large portion of really every city's budget. And so we just don't know. But we can say, at least in the city of Jamestown, we are looking at a potential deficit of anywhere from $2 to $4.75 million, which is huge. That's a 35% reduction in sales tax and a potential 20% reduction in state aid. You add those two together, it puts us at a really large deficit, a deficit that's larger than our actual reserve fund. So this is actually could be some dire straits for the city if we don't start to look at things like shared services or working with our employee groups to try to reduce costs. It is a huge issue. We have been working diligently with our congressional representatives to try to get some federal aid, and not to make this political, but when we give $40 billion to airlines, but we give nothing to municipalities hosting our police, our fire, our EMS services, it becomes a huge strain on a municipality. And so we're hoping that the federal government will be able to provide us some additional aid to supplement what we think the state may end up having to cut.
Mayor Rosas?
Yep, I'll have to echo what Mayor Sundquist has stated. We also are looking at a deficit probably of 1.5 million is what we're projecting at this point for this year alone. And that's just due to COVID-19. So there's, a plan that I'm trying to work on now with our fiscal affairs officer to try to cut as much as we can without cutting services. There's other municipalities, we get on calls with some of the other mayors and you hear what some of the other cities are doing. Some of them are laying off workers, some of them are cutting services and programs and things like that. We here in the city of Dunkirk, as of yet, have not cut services. We have not cut any positions. We have not laid anyone off. But we're looking right now. I've asked for our fiscal affairs officer not to approve any purchases of equipment unless it comes through me. and it has to be something that's, desperately needed. So there's the impact of COVID-19 on our budgets is going to be hard for us to deal with. It may cause us to have to raise taxes here in the city of Dunkirk. And I've asked our council to be aware that some of the decisions that we're making from here till the end of the year, we'd have to take into consideration the fact that we're going to be in the red by that much. So while we haven't cut any services, we may have to cut the way that we provide these services. So, and I ask our taxpayers to bear with us, because we're in a very tough time right now where we don't know, as the mayor said, what type of funding we're going to receive from the state that we actually budgeted for. In the city of Dunkirk, we budget for example, CHIPS funding. It's the Consolidated Highway Improvement Program funds, and that's for paving of roads. And we have not received that as of yet, and I'm being told that it could be in jeopardy. So these are things that we actually budgeted for that we may or may not receive. So we may have to cut back on that type of projects too, the rest of the way. So it does have a major impact on job performance, as far as myself as mayor, to see that there's things you'd like to fix, things that you knew you budgeted for, that you were planning to fix, and now because of COVID-19, we may not have the funding to do that.
So you both have some financial headwinds ahead to work through with your council and in your communities, and we wish you the best of luck in that effort. I'd like to talk a little bit to some of the challenges we're seeing across the country as it relates to racial justice. There's been peaceful protests in both of your cities, and with that dialogue between city government and those expressing their views, you both know well that finding racial harmony is not simply something that can be fixed necessarily at the federal level. Take a concerted effort as well at the local level to make it happen. So what is being done or can be done in terms of facilitating racial justice in your respective cities? Eddie, we'll let you go first.
Okay.
Because I know you're on a tight schedule here.
Well, I appreciate that. I would say that, first and foremost, we have to understand that there is a complete change in the way we think about things nationally. And it is coming down to our community. And we need to be able to respond to that quickly, and we need to be able to respond to it appropriately. And as you pointed out, in both of our cities, we've had incredibly peaceful protests, rallies. We've had groups that have wanted to reach out and help us as a government be better, be more inclusive, be more diverse. And I think that's a really great thing. And so this whole time, I've asked those groups to give us the feedback, tell us what we can do better, and how do we make ourselves better as one community. So for me, the response has been not only to engage with those groups, but also to bring back what we have here in the city called the Human Rights Commission. A group of 12 community members coming together to help analyze what we're doing as one community, to figure out how do we ease some of the tensions that deal with race, religion, and nationality, and how do we as a city have better policies to be more inclusive. So we are currently going through those applications to create that committee. I will tell you, we received over 70 applications for 12 spots on that committee, and that's a really incredible thing, but also time consuming to go through and make sure we find the right people. But this has been a really difficult time, not only dealing with COVID, but also trying to make sure that we better understand the racial implications that are happening in our communities. So in the city of Jamestown, we're working to connect with groups, connect with our community. But I want to just remind everyone that none of this happens, none of the government work happens without the push from the community. And that's what we're seeing day in and day out, and that's a really great thing.
Eddie, before we let you go, there was one question for you. Just backing up a little bit, person with us today wondered where small businesses in Jamestown should apply for the funds you mentioned as part of some of the CDBG and some of the other work you're doing?
Sure. So they can call the Department of Development directly here in the city of Jamestown. So just give that office a call. We've not yet rolled out the application, but we will put you on the list to send you the application as soon as it gets rolled out this week. And if you haven't connected with the Department of Development, we are reaching out to businesses across the city, and we want you to meet our staff at the Department of Development. Stephanie Wright, who is our economic coordinator, frequently talks to businesses about just your general needs and what we as a city can do. And if you also haven't met our Director of Development, Crystal Sertic, we encourage you to do that. They're happy to come to your place to learn more about you and just to connect with us so that we know and we can be there to help you, especially not only during this time, but as things start to ramp back up.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Sundquist.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time here today.
Of course.
Mayor Rosas, back to the question around racial justice and some of the efforts in your community. Your thoughts?
Well, what we're planning on doing, and I've already spoken with our chief of police as well as the chair of our public safety committee, is that we're going to try to incorporate that effort into this committee. What I want to do is I'm going to pick personally some of the people in our community that I feel would be very helpful in this effort and bring them on to our public safety committee for the purpose of helping us out to understand some of the issues. I can say to you that one of the things that I see being a former police officer is that we have issues with recruitment. I think that one of the first things you learn as when you start to study law enforcement is that there were like 10 rules for law enforcement, police departments, and within those 10 rules was that they all wear a uniform so they could be easily identified, that they all have a badge number so they could be individually identified. But also one of those 10 was that the department should reflect the community it serves, which means if 10% of your department is African American, 10% of your community is 10% African American, then 10% of your department should reflect that. In our department, we don't have any representation from the African American community, and I'm not sure that in countywide in all the police departments that we have that proper representation. So I think that's an issue. I also think that learning, cultural diversity, we need to do that. The police departments, again, spend time with in-service training annually where people learn about, you have to go and qualify with your gun and things like that. But there is no normal training for cultural diversity. And I think in a community like the city of Dunkirk, we have a very diverse community that there should be some form of training for cultural diversity. It's understanding the different ways in different cultures. It doesn't mean that these folks that come in from different countries are going to come in and change the way we do things here. But it means that as police officers, we need to understand why they do what they do. Why do they act the way they do? And that's one of the things I think is missing in many departments across this region. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. I think that the people that we bring on will be helping us to see the differences.
Very good. Thanks for that update and your efforts in that area. We appreciate it. So these moments of crisis bring about opportunity and windows, for significant positive change. What significant opportunities do you see ahead for your respective community and in general, maybe the region and New York State?
Well, I think, like I said before, when we speak about economic development, I think providing opportunities. New York State has what they call the MWBE, which is, minority and women-owned businesses. We are trying to reach out to them, and this is an effort statewide. And it's harder in smaller communities like ours because there's not many businesses that are owned by minorities. So, but there has to be a concentrated effort to reach out to those businesses and to the minority community. So I think we have to improve on that. And this scenario that we're in now with the Black Lives Matter movement, I think is providing us that opportunity to learn how to do that.
And Mayor Rosas, I may have unintentionally cut you off a little bit on my first question because you've got so much economic activity and projects going. I think there were a few more things maybe you had wanted to touch upon. So we've got a little more time. Maybe a talk about Phoenix and some of the other opportunities that you and the city have been involved in.
Absolutely. With the announcement of Phoenix came a lot of excitement, and our development department has been very busy since with many different businesses and investors looking to invest in this area. And what we're trying to do is bring them into the city, of course. But one of the things that people don't know is that it was our water and our wastewater treatment plants that lured the Phoenix company into this area. And we will be, while they won't be paying any taxes, we will be reaping the benefit of selling them water and wastewater services. Recently, we spent over $40 million in our water filtration plant as well as our wastewater treatment plant. And that is to upgrade the plant to a level where we can bring in these type of industries and serve them. We have the capacity to serve more now because of these upgrades. So it's money well spent that the taxpayers will reap the benefits of because these budgets are going to bring in more revenue as the Phoenix begins to open up. So this is very exciting time for us. Again, the spinoff of Phoenix has brought in another major project, which is Empire State Brands. That's a project, these folks are going to come in and take over the old Kraft building on Talcott Street in the city of Dunkirk. They're going to spend over $10 million of their own money. Plus, we have been fortunate, again, New York State is going to bring in $3 million to help this project happen. And this project will create about 450 jobs. What's unique about this project is that this project will be bringing in 450 jobs to our farmers regionally in this area. So this is a huge project, and we're very excited about that. We've been working very, very closely with them. The Chautauqua County IDA has been a major part of this. They've been working with us right along, right from the get-go. And New York State, again, has been receptive to this project. So we're very fortunate. Again, that's, again, something that we're really looking forward to. And another project is the Battery Point Villas. When the Phoenix announced that they were coming and they chose their site, we now have a site right across the street, just inside the city. Battery Point Villas are going to be these condo type apartments. I've spoken with the CEO of the Phoenix, and his workers are very excited about getting some of those slots in that facility, the Battery Point Villas. They want to live there. It's right on the water, and it's right across the street from a Phoenix. So that's another project that's going to be coming out, and that also is a $10 million investment from the developers there. So we're seeing a lot of different investments coming into the city, and I believe very firmly that a lot of it has to do because of the announcement of the Phoenix coming here. And again, the Phoenix is looking to invest $1.5 billion into this plant here. The projected opening date for them was supposed to be 2021, and I'm being told that they're way ahead of schedule. So they're looking to open. Obviously, they're going to be opening in phases. So it's not going to be like they're going to have 450 workers there on day one. But there's a lot of excitement. They're ahead of schedule, and we're looking forward to welcoming them into our community.
And as you tell this story, you think about kind of one of the earlier questions where we talked about communities working together, and you know, sharing services and sharing a resource as important as water. You know, Dunkirk had made some pretty significant investments in your water system, and you know, through a lot of work on your part and county support, and I think back to the work of Vince Horrigan, you know, you were able to make that water system help serve a larger region, larger community, and as you point out, became kind of a critical feature in terms of securing and bringing a Phoenix in, which has kind of snowballed into these other opportunities and other investments that are occurring in the community. So, you know, great work, you know, on that, and it demonstrates the importance of water and you know, utilities and infrastructure to this type of development.
That was one of the issues when I first came into office, was that we had some issues at our wastewater treatment plant, and what people don't know is that Philbrook Foods was looking at closing their shop here and moving production to New Jersey. And we sat down and we figured out some of the issues they were having were with their waste. Their system was not really functioning properly. We sent some of our engineers into their plant to help them out, and they figured out a way that we could work with them to make sure that the expenses that they were incurring could be you know, more cost effective. And so that worked out very well. They ended up hiring 100 new jobs in 2016 when I first came on. And then now with Wells taking them over, you'll have 100 more jobs coming into this area. So one of the first things that Wells did when they took over was they gave everyone across the board a 10% raise. That was within 30 days of taking over the company. So they are for real, they mean business, and we anticipate a lot of good things coming from Wells being here in our community. The other thing I wanted to mention was the cold storage warehouse. It's again something that happened because of Philbrook. That started with them. You know, that was one of the first projects that I worked on when I first came on, and that one created about 20 jobs over there at that site. And again, the county IDA was very much involved in this project too, and we were able to keep that cold storage warehouse here in the city of Dunkirk. So that's another job that we completed, and it's helped us, and now they're looking at expansion over there at that site. So a lot of good things have been happening here that we've worked on. And Universal Steel, that's another company here in the city of Dunkirk that has invested money into their company here that secures the jobs they do have. And these are good paying jobs, family sustaining jobs. These are some of the things that have been happening in the city. And a lot of times people don't know it because they don't hear it. So, you know, again, infrastructure improvements has been huge for us, and it's helped us, again, our ways to be able to bring in more industry. So basically, you know, after I came into office, one of the other things that I wanted to point out is that we entered the LMHF Insurance Consortium. That was in 2016. We were able to get all of the unions for the first time to agree to collaborate together for us to be able to provide an insurance for them, assurance benefit that saved our taxpayers about $500,000 since 2017. It saved us $500,000, and it also allowed us to maintain a relationship with a local business. So we have been really reaping the benefits because we did not have to raise taxes when we negotiated the contract with the union. We did not have to raise taxes, and one of the reasons is because of this LMHF consortium. So this is something I'm very proud of because we sat down to negotiate, And my job as mayor, pretty much every day, I'm sitting down to represent the city taxpayers in negotiations one way or another. So that one there I was very proud of, and it helped us to keep our workers happy and again, to get our unions back in the contract.
Very good. Well, good work. Mayor Rosas, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I just want to say that we have, when I first came into office, we started doing these business roundtables. We did them, we started off doing them every week, then we did them every couple of weeks. Now we do them bi-monthly. But I learned a lot about some of the businesses, some of the issues they were going through, and how we could help them. And I just want all the businesses out there that may be listening, if there's anything we can do to make you more successful, please let us know. Don't assume that we know. Please call a meeting with us. Our development director is very professional, and I will sit down personally with you and our director to ensure that we're helping you as much as we can. I believe that's the job of the city. If you want to keep your businesses open and successful, you have to help them, and that's what we want to do.
Very good.
Also want to say, Todd, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate having you here. I know you're busy guys, so thank you. And thank you to your wife for helping us get set up today. So to our businesses out there, we want to remind everybody, all businesses, to go to forward.ny.gov. And remember, all businesses need to put together reopening guidelines, your reopening plans. You've got to sign an affirmation. Even if you were open or partially open during the pause period, you still need to get in there, put that plan together, and sign off on that affirmation. Also want to remind everyone that on July 16th, we'll have our annual congressional meeting, and that will be at 8:30 with Congressman Reed. Again, 8:30 on July 16th. We hope you can join us. Also want to remind everybody, we've had a lot of contests, community contests here over the past, 8, 9, 10 months, starting with the Small Business Revolution, and then the National Comedy Center was in a USA Today contest, and now we have Chautauqua, the town of Chautauqua, and the institution in a USA Today 10 Best poll. They're in a battle to be US's best small town cultural scene, and are currently ranked #1. So we encourage you to go to vote.chq.org and vote every day, so we can have the trifecta of winning 3 contests in a period of about 8 months. Again, thank you, Mayor Rosas, for your participation with us, and to our guests out there, thank you for participating. We'll be back here again next Monday at 3:30, but continue to be safe and stay healthy. Just a reminder, the coronavirus has not left us, and we're still battling against the pandemic. So continue with social distancing and wearing those masks, and just being smart about this. We have a lot of work to continue to do. We don't want to get into a situation again where we have to put some of our businesses on pause. We can do this, but again, stay safe and be healthy. And if you ever need anything, you know where to reach us. You can reach us here at the Chamber at 366-6200 or 484-1101, or visit us at chautauquachamber.org. Again, thank you for your time. Have a great week. See you soon.